U.S. President Donald Trump signed a funding package to reopen the federal government on Wednesday, ending the longest shutdown in U.S. history.
The federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America affordable again for all Americans again.
The bill is passed. The motion is adopted.
The deal cleared Congress earlier in the day after the House of Representatives passed it with a vote of 222 to 209. That was despite strong opposition from House Democrats, who are angry that a long standoff launched by their Senate colleagues failed to secure a deal to extend federal health insurance subsidies. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries spoke prior to the vote.
House Democrats will continue to fight to address the health care crisis that Republicans have created. And House Democrats will continue to fight to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for tens of millions of Americans. This fight is not over. We're just getting started.
While the deal sets up a December vote on those subsidies in the Senate, no such promise was made in the House. Speaking before the vote, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson blamed Democrats for the shutdown.
And then they admitted, many of them, and we could name them here, but I'm not going to take the time, they admitted that they were using the American people as leverage in this political game. They knew that it would cause pain, and they did it anyway. The whole exercise was pointless. It was wrong, and it was cruel.
The measure reopens the government after a 43-day shutdown. It will restore disrupted food assistance, pay hundreds of thousands of federal workers, and revive a hobbled air traffic control system. It would extend funding through January 30, leaving the federal government on a path to keep adding about $1.8 trillion a year to its $38 trillion in debt.
Music plays in the streets of Iraq's Baghdad as fireworks light up the night sky. That was as supporters of Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani celebrated his coalition winning a second term in Iraq's parliamentary election on Wednesday. Sudani's coalition received 1.317 million votes in Tuesday's election, according to the Independent High Electoral Commission. Reuters earlier reported that Sudani placed first, citing two Electoral Commission officials with knowledge of the results.
This is clear evidence of another success, the restoration of trust in the political system. It shows that Iraqis have chosen the path of reform and reconstruction outlined in the executive program of their government.
After his victory, Sudani said that his coalition will consider the interests of all Iraqi voters and citizens, including those who boycotted the elections. Many disillusioned young Iraqis said they saw the vote simply as a vehicle for established parties to divide Iraq's oil wealth and had claimed ahead of the vote that they would boycott the elections. Sudani tried to cast himself as the leader who could make Iraq a success after years of instability, saying he had moved against established parties that brought him to power. No party can form a government on its own in Iraq's 329-member legislature, so parties build alliances with other groups to become an administration, a process that can often take months. The final total turnout in Iraq's parliamentary election reached 56.11%, the Electoral Commission said on Wednesday.
New Directions Community Credit Union is now open in Titusville. They may be new to our community, but they've been serving our region since 1974, providing their members with affordable products and services. Membership is open to anyone who lives, works, worships, volunteers, attends school, regularly conducts business, or who owns a business in Venango, Forest, Warren, or Crawford counties. Visit their new location at 206 South Martin Street in Titusville to learn more about becoming a member. Best of luck to all the students and athletes this fall from New Directions Community Credit Union.
Looking for expert orthopedic care? Dr. Charlie Gates, a trusted name at Titusville Area Hospital, can help you regain mobility and a better quality of life. With years of experience and a passion for personalized care, Dr. Gates specializes in treating a wide range of orthopedic conditions. Whether it's joint pain, sports injuries, or orthopedic surgery, trust Dr. Charlie Gates at Titusville Area Hospital for your orthopedic care. Call 814-827-9770 today to schedule your appointment.
Vanderhoof Heating and Air Conditioning provides residential and light commercial air conditioning services throughout the area. They understand the importance of your cooling system working properly. That is why you can trust in Vanderhoof to do the job right. Whether it's a non-working air conditioner, yearly maintenance, or a new install, you can be assured that we will solve your problem quickly and efficiently. Your home's air conditioning system is far more than just temperature. It's a complete comfort system that combines temperature, humidity, air quality, and above all, safety. Vanderhoof Heating and Air Conditioning in Titusville. Titusville Market Square is home to over 100 unique vendors featuring antiques, collectibles, candles, coins, baked goods, dairy products, food items, comic books, toys, and so much more. You'll discover something new every time you walk through the door. Did we mention the selection of baked goods, breads, Clark's Donuts, and Amish pies? Titusville Market Square has you covered. Stop in to explore today. Titusville Market Square in downtown Titusville.
Our new home.
Somebody pinch me.
Somebody say pinch?
Pinch.
Time.
We mean we just bought this.
Yeah, we just bought a new house. Why are there crabs?
Oh, don't call for pinches. Call for protection.
Hit it.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Your State Farm agent is ready to help you choose the right coverage for your new house and your car.
All right, which way to the sea? We're in Ohio.
So is that close, or?
No.
You got a pool?
No.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
I'm Ronnie Long.
And I'm Lisa Mellon.
The name Armstrong reflects more than just a company. It's a promise.
While others focus on the short term, we're building for a future that's limitless.
From the dawn of cable television to the rise of the digital age, we've delivered cutting-edge technology like our advanced fiber network that redefines what's possible.
Guided by our core values, we have proudly served and strengthened communities like yours for generations.
Fat Chad's is Titusville's premier dining destination. Come hungry and enjoy these menu favorites: T-bone steak, homemade meatloaf dinner, or soft shell crab tacos. Dive into fresh pasta entrees like shrimp and scallop pasta, or our signature Asiago chicken. And don't miss our famous burgers and fish sandwiches, all served with fresh cut fries. Fridays mean prime rib specials. Enjoy wild game Saturdays. And on Sundays, it's our all-you-can-eat wing buffet. For good food and good times, it's Fat Chad's Brewing in Titusville.
211 is an easy-to-remember telephone number for finding health and human services for everyday needs and in crisis situations. Every day, highly trained 211 call specialists provide referrals to basic human needs resources like food banks and shelters, physical and mental health, employment support, support for youth and child care programs, and support for adults and persons with disabilities. To learn more, dial 211 or visit pa211nw.org.
Wall Street's main indexes ended mixed on Wednesday, with the Dow gaining more than 0.2% to notch another record high close, the S&P 500 ending roughly flat, and the Nasdaq slipping 0.25%. Investors focused on a likely end to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, with the House of Representatives poised to vote on a stopgap funding package. If passed, President Donald Trump is expected to sign the bill into law. That propped up Dow stalwarts such as Goldman Sachs and United Health Group, with each gaining 3.5%. But the Nasdaq slid again as some tech-related heavyweights lost ground. Tesla and Amazon fell about 2%, Palantir lost about 3.5%, and Oracle declined nearly 4%. Kevin Nicholson is an investment expert at Riverfront Investment Group.
Well, the NASDAQ has been volatile over the last couple of weeks just because you have so many companies that are chasing the AI train, and some are being successful at it and others aren't. The market is really concerned about the level of spending that is going towards AI for each individual company. And for some companies, it makes sense, and for others, it doesn't. And so right now, I think the market is trying to pick the winners and losers thus far as it pertains to AI.
Among Wednesday's winners, AMD rallied 9% after the chip designer unveiled a $100 billion data center revenue target. And Cisco Systems, up 3% at the close, soared higher in extended trading after the company raised its forecast for full-year profit and revenue, banking on multi-billion-dollar data center expansions.
All right, let's check that forecast for Northwest Pennsylvania. Considerable cloudiness this morning. Some decreasing clouds later in the day. Temperatures in the mid-40s. Partly cloudy skies tonight with lows in the upper 20s. Friday, cloudy, upper 40s. Saturday, some afternoon rain showers, upper 50s. Sunday morning showers with temperatures around 40. And Monday, mostly cloudy skies with highs in the upper 30s. That is a look at your weather forecast at 7:13. This is the Morning Drill. You're watching it on Stream TV and on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. Yeah. Happy Thursday. Can you believe it's Thursday already?
I know, it's crazy.
What a fast week. And here Monday, I was like, oh, it's going to be a long week. And looking forward to some things happening this weekend and next week. And I'm like, it's going to be forever just because things have, I don't want to say they've slowed up, but obviously sports have come to an end, fall sports. And some other things are now wrapping up. So it's kind of like, you think you have some time to sit back, relax, and maybe do some planning. But it's just been nonstop with other things, and here we are, almost the end of the week. We had to run to Erie real quick last night. Boy, we kind of saw a little bit of everything. It was,
oh my gosh, yeah, it was crazy.
Pouring. It was like hail, ice. There was a lot going on last night. But today, looking at 44 with decreasing clouds throughout the day. I don't know if you're going to be angry with me or not. It's that time of year where Prop Store is selling Hollywood items. Well, there's a few Indiana Jones things on here. The fedora from Temple of Doom. Mm-hmm. I may or may not have put in a bid on it.
Okay.
Actually, the starting bid was $75,000.
Holy.
Could fetch anywhere between $150,000 to $300,000.
Nope.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But wouldn't that look nice? You know, good conversation piece when somebody walks in the house. Oh, yeah, that's the Harrison Ford's fedora. We were on vacation last year and ran into it was earlier this year, wasn't it? Back in February, yeah. Went into a really nice art store that had opened up.
Uh-huh.
And
I'm pretty sure it was last year we did this.
No, it's February.
Oh. Never mind. I'm thinking of a different fact, but go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah. Really nice art store. We were looking at some sculptures and some really cool. Well, there's this one that was absolutely gorgeous. No price on it, which tells you.
Yeah.
So we asked.
It was gorgeous, and it was
really cool.
Cool. It was like Elton John's music themed.
Yeah.
Like his songs
elements. Yeah.
were all represented in the sculpture. But anyways, go
You know what's funny? Wow. You introduced me to a guy who does 3D printing. Maybe we could have, if I showed him what it was, maybe he could 3D print it for us. Not the exact, I would want like the caricature type of cartoon style version. Wouldn't that be funny? And then we could take it down to them and sell it to them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, go ahead. Finish your story.
Well, no, I was just going to say.
So there wasn't a price tag on it?
There wasn't. So we asked. And listen, they're very good employees.
They did their job.
Very pushy.
Very well.
Yeah, very pushy.
Mm-hmm.
What was it, like $23,000?
They're like, yeah, it's 20. And can we Klarna that? Is that what we said?
Wrap it up. No, I was like, well, yeah, no. We're also on vacation. We're not.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. We'll pass on that.
Holy cow. I'm like,
we were waiting for other people to come into the store so they could
they'd already
be distracted.
Heard how much it cost. I'm pretty sure everybody around us that heard the price was like...
Yeah, that's what they did. Now, he had other things on there. The guy, the artist, had other...
He was very talented, and it was wonderful. And I feel like it was made out of... What was it made out of? Bronze or something. So, I mean, it was just a little shocking. It shouldn't have been.
He had like a book that showcased all his stuff, and it was like $20. It was like, all right.
I can afford the book.
We'll buy the book.
I'll afford the book.
Put that on the shelf. It would have been, again, and that's just why I'm reminded of it, because the lady was like, this is a great conversation piece when somebody comes into the house. I'm like, yeah, it better be.
Yeah.
But anyways, if we, the fedora, I think would be amazing. So I'm just hinting, Christmas is around the corner. If you were looking to get me a little something, the Temple of... Now, would I prefer the Raiders fedora? Yes, if you want to get nitpicky on the whole thing. But I'll take that. Hint, hint.
Hint, hint.
Yeah. So if anybody's looking to get me something for Christmas. The auction's coming up on December 5th. So I'm just saying, you got some time. You don't even have to wrap it up for me, honey. Okay, you're moving on. You've got birthdays and what we're celebrating. This is what I do. I provide massive headaches for her every... The eyes twitching.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Massive headaches every day. That's all I think that's in the instruction book when you get married. Husbands are supposed to just provide massive headaches every day.
I'm going to go with no.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, well, I'm not going to get into it.
For peace, they're supposed to simply say, yes, dear. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, people say that.
Do you want more shoes, dear?
I hate that, happy wife, happy life. I don't like that.
Haven't I ever said that to you? No.
No.
Thank you.
No, it's miserable. And Thanksgiving's right around the corner, too.
Oh, so my gosh.
We test our...
And what else is
there's
around
so
Thanksgiving?
Much. There's
our
so
anniversary.
Much. And our anniversary, yes.
Yeah.
There's a couple times...
20-some years?
A couple times in the span of our marriage, our anniversary has been on Thanksgiving.
Correct.
Yeah. Last year and this year, Thanksgiving's like, hey, let's find the very end of the month and let's make Thanksgiving at the very... It's nice to have a little bit of a buffer in there where you have Thanksgiving and then you've got, at least the beginning part of the following week when you're in November.
Yeah.
But last year and this year, it's like, it's the way the calendar falls. So you're saying anniversary present, fedora? Is that what I'm picking up?
Mm-mm.
All right. You've got birthdays and what we're celebrating coming up in a little bit. Angela Morton's going to be joining us. I didn't realize Angela Morton, who hosts Recovery Is on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel, she's in that local movie that was produced and filmed in Meadville, Pig Hill.
Oh, okay.
And they're showing Pig Hill at the movies at Meadville.
Okay.
Might be through this weekend. I'm not. It was a limited run, but a lot of people have gone to see it, see the the local sites, see the acting. But I believe I saw yesterday that Angela Morton was in it. So
nice.
There you go. And you were very familiar with the stories of Pig Hill.
Yeah, I grew up in Meadville. I actually had a friend who lived at the base of the hill. I was at her house a lot. It really wasn't.
This would have been a good Halloween story.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it was like there's all these stories and
Well, just real quick, what's the basis? What's the basic premise of all this?
Of the movie?
No, well, the stories.
It's just I think like there was a pig farm on top of the hill, but it was always like everybody had a different story that they, were half pigs, half people, because you didn't see a lot of them. Kind of somebody just took and generated a ridiculous story out of
that ridiculous story
became a really cool movie.
Well, no, before that you had Nancy Williams who wrote the book, which kind of inspired a lot of all this. And we had Nancy Williams on our program
a long time ago.
Maybe I should see. This would be a good time.
There you go. You re-earth your interview with Nancy.
It's here. I have the book. But anyways, so from there, it was actually a fascinating story.
Yeah.
Because our other good friend, R.A. Mihailoff, who's been on the program and who was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 and lives here.
Yes.
And it's funny just to see him around town or downstairs. It's really funny. It's just it's like, this guy's been in movies. But anyways, he called me one day and he's like, hey, you had an author on who wrote a book about Pig Hill. Sent the information to him, talked to her and said, is it okay? And now there's this movie that's being played and really cool. So
yeah.
And I think for a lot of folks in Meadville, it was a chance to maybe be an extra or just to be in the background, or maybe their business was showcased or something. So
some excitement.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you get a chance, Nancy Williams, again from Meadville area, wrote a book about it, and then now it's turned into a movie. So a little bit of excitement. And again, you might want to check it out at the movies at Meadville. I think it's going to be coming to an end here. I think it was only a couple week premiere, so you can check that out.
Cool.
All right. You're going to be hanging out with
high schoolers today.
Yeah, what's going on?
So today is career day at Titusville Area High School, but it's the mock interviews.
Is that where you make fun of people?
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh, you don't mock them. Okay. That would be funny, wouldn't it?
Not at all.
For me.
Not really.
Luke, are you talking about what you do, or are you just making fun of people?
Right.
Well, you brought me in to mock them, right? No, that's not how that works. What are you doing with your life? What? All right, go ahead.
So, yeah.
This is why I'm not invited.
I can't.
This is
exactly.
Okay.
No, you are invited. It's just that it takes place during your program.
Oh.
So, it starts this morning. Usually I have around 5 or 6 seniors that I interview. It's part of their grade, so they're to dress appropriately, right? Have letters of reference, their resume, everything, boom, boom, boom. And I have a series of questions I ask them, just like they're interviewing for a job with me.
Very nice. So they are learning skills. Are you allowed to say, hey, good job, but when you're in an interview, you should do this, or you should say this, or don't say this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of the premise of it. Like, it's not all sunshine and roses and great job, It's, hey, maybe...
Do you get a lot of good questions?
Keep your head up. Keep your...
Or are they kind of nervous?
Difficult. They're very nervous, and I take that into account because I get it. I get adults that don't interview as well as they do. So it's, I don't know. I'm not very strict on them because you never know, what their day started like. They're already nervous that they're there. They're probably wearing something they usually don't wear, and they don't know what to expect. So for most of these kids, this is their first time in a situation like this. And I'm pretty easy on them. It's a, hey, you did a great job. This is great. I really like your suit. Blah, 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 blah. Remember, be confident in yourself. You're talking about yourself. This should be an easy topic to talk about, and don't give too much information, but be confident. So, yeah, I like it. I like it. I like being part of it, but I like that it's offered because they're not going to, I didn't have a class that, taught me how my first job interview was going to look.
Yeah.
So.
What's the biggest surprise with high schools or schools in general? They don't teach cursive anymore?
They don't teach cursive anymore. And
that might not be everybody.
Right. And, like the basics of math, when it's coming to your budgeting. I know, I also get to speak every other year, and a topic is picked, and sometimes they're like, oh, do you want to talk about finance? Well, I'm just, not to be mean, but most of these kids aren't in the position where they want to talk about or even know about a 401k. They don't even know how to check the balance of their account or, factor in anything that, with checking or savings or any, you got to kind of start with the basics, not to be mean, but that needs to be something that they can do to take care of themselves so they're not relying on.
Well, they say 40% of students can grasp math concepts, and the other 80% struggle with it. So it's really challenging. Hey, real quick,
Birthdays?
women's basketball history was made Tuesday night as Grace College beat Ohio Christian 172-91. Yeah, 172 points from one team.
My Lord.
All right, birthdays here on this 13th day of November. This will have to be quick.
Okay, actor Joe Mantegna is 78. Actress Whoopi Goldberg is 70. Comedian Jimmy Kimmel is 58. Actor Jared Butler is 56. Sorry, I was trying to hurry through that.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Hey, we missed Neil Young's birthday yesterday.
I'm so sorry. You know whose birthday it wasn't yesterday? Mark Summers.
That's right. It was the day before.
It was the day before. Okay. Today we're celebrating National Dream Destination Day,
Ooh.
National Hug Musician Day, National Indian Pudding Day, Sadie Hawkins Day, Symphonic Metal Day, World Kindness Day, World Quality Day, World Usability Day, and that is all.
I don't want to go into the embarrassing story of Sadie Hawkins. Could you imagine being little Sadie Hawkins? Nobody asked you to the dance? Well, maybe you should ask somebody. And then we'll name the whole thing. I'm joking with everybody. Wouldn't that be?
I could go so many different ways.
So embarrassing. We'll name them. Oh, honey.
I'm just kidding.
I have no problems.
You do a good job embarrassing yourself.
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm. And I'm fine with it. It's fine. All right. You know what else is fine? The news. And the news is coming up here at the bottom of the hour. We'll recap the latest headlines. We'll let you know what's going on Wall Street. We'll have that weather forecast for you. It's all coming up here this morning. Happy Thursday. It's not even, I kept thinking Wednesday. It's not even Wednesday. It's Thursday.
It is. It's Thursday.
Tomorrow's Friday. We wrap up the week tomorrow with Christian Marr from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation and Mr. Sports, Bruce Peterson. So looking forward to that. Thursday night football tonight. A lot going on. Happy Thursday. Your headlines are next.
U.S. President Donald Trump signed a funding package to reopen the federal government on Wednesday, ending the longest shutdown in U.S. history.
The federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America affordable again for all Americans again.
The bill is passed. The motion is adopted.
The deal cleared Congress earlier in the day after the House of Representatives passed it with a vote of 222 to 209. That was despite strong opposition from House Democrats, who are angry that a long standoff launched by their Senate colleagues failed to secure a deal to extend federal health insurance subsidies. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries spoke prior to the vote.
House Democrats will continue to fight to address the health care crisis that Republicans have created. And House Democrats will continue to fight to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for tens of millions of Americans. This fight is not over. We're just getting started.
While the deal sets up a December vote on those subsidies in the Senate, no such promise was made in the House. Speaking before the vote, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson blamed Democrats for the shutdown.
And then they admitted, many of them, and we could name them here, but I'm not going to take the time, they admitted that they were using the American people as leverage in this political game. They knew that it would cause pain, and they did it anyway. The whole exercise was pointless. It was wrong, and it was cruel.
The measure reopens the government after a 43-day shutdown. It will restart disrupted food assistance, pay hundreds of thousands of federal workers, and revive a hobbled air traffic control system. It would extend funding through January 30, leaving the federal government on a path to keep adding about $1.8 trillion a year to its $38 trillion in debt.
Music plays in the streets of Iraq's Baghdad as fireworks light up the night sky. That was as supporters of Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani celebrated his coalition winning a second term in Iraq's parliamentary election on Wednesday. Sudani's coalition received 1.317 million votes in Tuesday's election, according to the Independent High Electoral Commission. Reuters earlier reported that Sudani placed first, citing two Electoral Commission officials with knowledge of the results.
This is clear evidence of another success, the restoration of trust in the political system. It shows that Iraqis have chosen the path of reform and reconstruction outlined in the executive program of their government.
After his victory, Sudani said that his coalition will consider the interests of all Iraqi voters and citizens, including those who boycotted the elections. Many disillusioned young Iraqis said they saw the vote simply as a vehicle for established parties to divide Iraq's oil wealth and had claimed ahead of the vote that they would boycott the elections. Sudani tried to cast himself as the leader who could make Iraq a success after years of instability, saying he had moved against established parties that brought him to power. No party can form a government on its own in Iraq's 329-member legislature, so parties build alliances with other groups to become an administration, a process that can often take months. The final total turnout in Iraq's parliamentary election reached 56.11%, the Electoral Commission said on Wednesday.
Vehicle shopping? Make sure you check out Titusville Ford first. Shop our amazing selection of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs in stock. Visit us on Route 8 in Titusville and see why our customer service is a cut above the rest. Titusville Ford, your hometown dealer.
Marsh Home Center Furniture, Appliances, and Bedding is located at 305 East Spring Street in Titusville. Marsh Home Center welcomes you in to explore their growing inventory of name brand furniture, appliances, and bedding. Need something not currently in stock? No problem. Order from Marsh's online catalog and have it delivered right to your door. Visit Marsh's to see their entire showroom. Ask questions, see what items are on sale, or just stop in and say hi. Marsh Home Center Furniture, Appliances, and Bedding, behind Giant Eagle in Titusville.
Whether you want to go and lead in your craft in the trades, whether you want to go and be that nurse or medical worker and have a real impact on lives, or whether you want to go and help that business improve its bottom line, this is the place. And now is your time to go with confidence, to go with skill, to go succeed. The Education and Training Center at Pitt Titusville.
I needed a place I could feel cared for without the long drive. I chose Meadville OBGYN because both my sisters came here, highly recommended Dr. Kristen. Dr. Kristen makes me feel very comfortable. Like I'm family, like we're friends, very personable. My daughter Evie was born breech, and it was Dr. Kristen and Dr. Barco, and they were incredible. It was a wonderful experience. I wouldn't ever want to go anywhere else.
Community Connect Federal Credit Union, serving Crawford, Venango, Forest, and Warren counties. Their mission is to provide quality, low-cost, and personal financial products for the growth and security of their members and families. Stop in, call, or visit our website, communityconnectfcu.com, and click Join to get started. Community Connect Federal Credit Union, 1050 East Spring Street in Titusville.
You have strong roots in the community. You may have grown a career, raised a family, and built friendships. Now you're ready to give back to the place that has supported you. But how? A charitable giving fund at your local community foundation provides an opportunity to grow your giving, invest in causes you care about, and focus on the joy of making a difference. Opening a charitable giving fund is easy. Give gifts that work best for you. Invest your charitable dollars in one of our portfolios or through your trusted financial advisor and watch your giving grow. In recognition of your generosity, you may even be able to prune your tax bill through charitable tax deductions and state tax credits. The Community Foundation tends to the administrative details while you focus on making a difference. Simply make grants from your fund to organizations big and small, near and far, and watch them bloom. As you consider community needs and opportunities, our staff acts as pollinators throughout the community and always knows the buzz. We can work alongside you to inspire future generations of givers and leave a lasting impact. Your giving is our mission. Together, we can meet the needs of today and plan for the opportunities of tomorrow. We are better together.
Wall Street's main indexes ended mixed on Wednesday, with the Dow gaining more than 0.2% to notch another record high close, the S&P 500 ending roughly flat, and the Nasdaq slipping 0.25%. Investors focused on a likely end to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, with the House of Representatives poised to vote on a stopgap funding package. If passed, President Donald Trump is expected to sign the bill into law. That propped up Dow stalwarts such as Goldman Sachs and United Health Group, with each gaining 3.5%. But the Nasdaq slid again as some tech-related heavyweights lost ground. Tesla and Amazon fell about 2%, Palantir lost about 3.5%, and Oracle declined nearly 4%. Kevin Nicholson is an investment expert at Riverfront Investment Group.
Well, the NASDAQ has been volatile over the last couple of weeks just because you have so many companies that are chasing the AI train, and some are being successful at it and others aren't. And, you know, the market is really concerned about the level of spending that is going towards AI for each individual company. And for some companies, it makes sense, and for others, it doesn't. And so right now, I think the market is trying to pick the winners and losers thus far as it pertains to AI.
Among Wednesday's winners, AMD rallied 9% after the chip designer unveiled a $100 billion data center revenue target. And Cisco Systems, up 3% at the close, soared higher in extended trading after the company raised its forecast for full-year profit and revenue, banking on multi-billion-dollar data center expansions.
Australian teenagers are set to lose their social media accounts, with a ban on young users set to kick in from December 10th. Over the coming days, online platforms like TikTok, Snapchat, Meta, and Instagram will notify more than 1 million teen account holders in the country. Users under the age of 16 must choose an option: download data, freeze their profiles, or lose everything under the world-first ban on kids using social media. Based on information from insiders, the big platforms plan to deactivate accounts for users under the age of 16. Australia's other 20 million social media users should face no big changes. The move puts the nation out front in shielding young people from online risks. Earlier this year, platforms had warned of total chaos, fearing that they could lose users and face $32 million fines for breaking the rules. They said required age checks would mean constant logins, invade privacy, and often be wrong or easy to dodge. But now, firms will use existing software that guesses ages from user habits instead of asking for birth dates all the time. They will generally only push people to special age check apps if someone complains about being blocked by mistake. The setup might hit snags at first. Age check apps which are being deployed at scale for the first time can make mistakes. La Trobe University AI professor Deswin Da Silva explains.
One of the challenges with age verification also was this band between 15, 16, 17. How do you distinguish 15 from 16 and 17? So a lot of the technological methods of age verification will fail in that narrow band. And there might be false positives where certain individuals who are over 16, slightly over 16, will be banned from these platforms because their content was classified as relevant to an under 16 sort of target demographic. It's probably going to be service distortion, service failure for a couple of days or weeks maybe until the platforms figure this out. And we'll see a lot of articles on media and maybe even on social media itself of false positives.
Meta, Snapchat, TikTok, and Google declined to comment. The law states that such platforms must take, quote, reasonable steps to block minors. If the rollout goes smoothly, it could guide the world in cutting kids' exposure to harms like bullying or weight issues from screens. The UK and France added age gates for porn earlier this year. Then in November, Denmark said it would ban under 15s from social media.
Switzerland could score a deal to lower tariffs on its exports to the US by the end of this week. That's according to a source on Tuesday. They said the tariff rate could be lowered to 15% from the 39% it's been at since August. The source added the deal could arrive by Thursday or Friday or early next week. But they warned an agreement wasn't certain until President Donald Trump gives his approval. The US tariffs currently placed on Switzerland are among the highest duties Washington has put on another country. It's threatened Swiss access to one of its biggest markets for its goods by making its products more expensive than other regions with lower duties. Industries affected include Swiss powerhouses like precision machinery, watches and chocolate. The Swiss Economic Affairs Ministry has been leading negotiations with Washington. It refused to comment on the ongoing discussions on Tuesday. Trump further said earlier this week he was working on a deal to lower tariffs on goods from Switzerland. Swiss officials have pitched a package of investment pledges and proposals. They aim to lower the US deficit in hopes of getting an agreement. Swiss media reported a group of the country's business leaders also met Trump in the White House last week to discuss the impact of tariffs on their operations. They reportedly presented him with a specifically engraved gold bar and a Rolex watch. News of a potential deal sent shares in Swiss luxury watch brands Richemont and Swatch Group higher on Tuesday.
The shutdown's over, but is the market still flying blind? The longest US government shutdown in history has finally ended, and markets are looking ahead to what's next. Rate cut hopes are back in focus, but with key economic releases unlikely to be released, investors will have to rely on private data to bridge the gap. So what are they telling us? Tim Graff is Managing Director and Head of Macro Strategy for EMEA at State Street Markets. So Tim, let's start with the labour markets. ADP data showed companies cutting more than 11,000 jobs per week. Is the employment engine really sputtering?
Yeah, I think it is. When you look at alternative data measures like things like job postings or wage growth that companies like Indeed produce, what you see is this just continued leveling off of the labor market. It's probably not quite as bad as some of the ADP data would indicate, but considering some of the constraints on labor supply, the break-even rate for monthly payroll growth is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 50,000 jobs. So the modest contraction we've seen from ADP data is not a million miles from that. And indeed, postings and wage growth, as I mentioned before, are also commensurate with a labor market that really is kind of at a standstill right now.
Well, President Trump says inflation is at a perfect number, around 2%. Are price pressures really in the rear-view mirror or just political spin?
For the largest part, I think they probably are. You have seen upside pressures to inflation via tariffs, and we've tracked this actually with our own alternative data measures through the State Street Price Stats Index for the U.S., and it does show that U.S. inflation is stronger than normal. Prices have risen probably 50, 60 basis points more than normal this year. But that's actually not as bad as what was forecast. And then, of course, if tariff pass-through effects are soon to cease, that will start falling out of inflation calculations next year, which I wouldn't consider it a perfect number right now because there is still the risk of upside inflationary pressure. But I think the stars are aligning for better outcomes starting in the new year.
Meanwhile, let's look at the growth picture, and the CBO says a 6-week shutdown could shave 1.5 percentage points off growth this quarter. Is that damage temporary, or does it leave a deeper scar?
There's probably some temporary scarring, and I think the effect itself will be temporary. This is a temporal effect from the shutdown. Shutdown is now over. Workers are going to get back to work. Production's going to come back online in terms of what the government does for its citizens. So I think it's largely a temporary effect. I think the estimate they have is probably a little bit overstated. That's not typically as big of a shock as you tend to see during government shutdowns, even if this was the longest. But nevertheless, I think its effects will fade in time.
Markets are now split, about a 50% chance of a December cut from the Fed. How do you see the coin flip landing, and how deep could the easing cycle run into next year?
Yeah, it's a good question. By then, we should have some more official data, hopefully. And we'll certainly have more reads on the alternative data. I think just given what I've said about inflation in the labor market, the Fed is probably more likely to ease than not. In his last press conference, Jay Powell actually mentioned looking at the price stats data that I just talked about. And that, coupled with some of the alternative data on labor markets, would suggest that further easing is probably required. And I think we certainly get rates to 3% by the end of next year. I think my core scenario, though, is that we get there by mid next year.
Finally, Tim, traders are bracing for a spike in dollar volatility as more data comes through. Meanwhile, RBC is warning of a prolonged sell-off. Should markets duck and cover?
Where the dollar is concerned, I think that's probably more of a 2026 trade. It's done very, very little net over the last 6 months or so. And I think with year-end approaching and position risk is all still very aligned dollar negative, I wouldn't really look for that downtrend to reassert itself until maybe some of that positioning has been cleared out a little bit, and until you start to get some new catalysts for that dollar downtrend. And I think that comes in the form of further Fed easing, potential further slowing of the U.S. economy. Those factors, I think, are ultimately going to weigh. I do agree with that long-term dollar down view, but I suspect you're going to need to be patient to see that play out.
That was Tim Graff from State Street Markets. Don't forget, you can watch more videos on Reuters.com.
In the Peruvian Amazon, black droplets bubble up in stagnant water next to a rusty pipeline. Uarina leader Wilmer Macusi said it's oil from past spills, and that it still seeps into the backwaters near his Santa Rosa village.
Nos han dicho que todo ya está limpio. Y entonces ahí por abajo, ahí, esta es la segunda, otro derrame, ¿no? Con eso sería dos derrames que había en esta zona.
These plastic barriers are supposed to stop a spill. Instead, they are drooping ineffectively. Now, oil companies looking for a revival in the north of the country are asking if Amazon communities here can skip over a seemingly harmful past to reboot the multi-billion-dollar oil industry. But indigenous people claim oil extraction brings pollution, not progress. This region once pumped more than half the country's oil, peaking at about 200,000 barrels a day back in the 80s. Though community opposition and the cost of cleanup drove oil production much lower after 2020. And key extraction blocks, plots of land where oil can be extracted, went dormant. But now, state oil firm Petroperu wants many of them active again. Macusi's community, where children play freely among nature, sits here, and close to it is a pipeline built in the 1970s, blamed for repeated spills. It connects a nearby oil field with the leaky, aging North Peruvian pipeline. Macusi says 2 years after the last rupture, crops still fail and fish have vanished. Others see the Amazon in a different light. Jorge Rivera spoke to Reuters with a picture behind him of his father, one of Peru's first Amazon oil drillers. Rivera is betting that his small company, Upland Oil and Gas, will succeed in its contract with Petroperu to restart production on a long-paralyzed extraction block. That's without repeating the industry's polluted past and while helping indigenous peoples.
Con nosotros, ellos se iban a beneficiar directamente porque nosotros traíamos una estrategia de crearles un trabajo adicional y crearles un ingreso continuo, ¿okay?, durante las actividades de extracción.
But mistrust runs deep. Many studies over decades have found that animals and indigenous people living near Peru's oil fields have raised levels of lead, mercury, cadmium, and arsenic. In a small Santa Rosa clinic, health technician Yvette Maldonado said she sees the impact from oil spills firsthand.
Cuando ha habido este derrame de petróleo, el agua se contamina de aceite y esa agua del río consume la comunidad aquí y mayormente por esa agua contaminada que ellos consumen les da diarrea. Bastante diarrea.
Petroperu insists the pipeline is reliable and says oil spill damage is temporary and reversible. It blames many recent spills on deliberate attacks, which have become a source of illicit income in poor river towns. And Rivera's company Upland is continuing to drill while offering indigenous residents jobs, training rapid response spill teams, and setting up a community-run fund from oil sales. But as of last month, community leaders say they have yet to see that money. And they want a proper cleanup from past spills before they entertain the idea of more drilling.
Iceland has declared the potential collapse of the AMOG a national security concern and an existential threat. They say the AMOG, or Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, may collapse within the next couple of decades as global temperatures keep rising. So, why is the AMOG important? The major Atlantic Ocean current system brings warm water from the tropics northward toward the Arctic, and the flow of warm water helps keep Europe's winters mild. But warming temperatures are now speeding the thaw of Arctic ice. and causing meltwater from Greenland's ice sheet to pour into the ocean. Scientists warn the cold fresh water could disrupt the current's flow. A collapse of the AMOG could trigger a modern-day ice age for northern Europe. That means winter temperatures across the region would fall to new cold extremes, bringing far more snow and ice. Stefan Ramsdorff is from Germany's Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research.
Well, the Atlantic overturning circulation is responsible for Europe's mild climate by transporting a huge amount of heat into the North Atlantic. That corresponds to about 50 times the total energy use of humanity. And so, especially Northwest Europe is several degrees warmer than other regions on the similar latitudes.
An Atlantic current collapse could have consequences far beyond northern Europe. Scientists say it could potentially destabilize long-time rainfall patterns, relied upon by farmers across Africa, India, and South America. It could also contribute to faster warming in Antarctica. Iceland's climate minister said the government is assessing what further research and policies are needed, with work underway on a disaster preparedness policy. Asa Perklin Yamasdorte is a member of the Icelandic parliament.
When we get more heat and more cold, there will be more dramatic weather conditions. We will have more bad weather and stormy weather, which will mean we cannot travel to and from our country. We could have ice around Iceland, so the ships will not be able to sail to the country. It is a real existential threat.
All right, we'll check the forecast before wrapping up here this morning for our second hour, and we're getting ready for the third hour on our website and Facebook and YouTube channels. Great local programming will continue on the Armstrong Neighborhood channel. We've got this quick look at some sports headlines, NHL action. It was the Rangers skating past the Tampa Bay Lightning 7-3. An overtime win for the Oilers over the Philadelphia Flyers 2-1. Utah with the win over the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo on the road for that one, 5-2 the final there. And overtime win for the Devils over the Chicago Blackhawks, 4-3. All right, hockey action on this Thursday. Panthers and Capitals tonight at 7. Maple Leafs taking on the Kings. Senators and Bruins. Canadiens and Stars. Red Wings and Ducks. Blue Jackets taking on the Oilers in Columbus. Avalanche will host the Sabres. Flames and Sharks, Kraken and Jets, Golden Knights taking on the Islanders. The Pittsburgh Penguins are sitting in third place right now in the Metropolitan Division behind New Jersey and Carolina. We've got NBA action real quick. Last night, Hornets over the Bucks. Magic beat the Knicks. Pistons over the Bulls. Cavaliers beat the Heat. Celtics dribbled past the Grizzlies. Warriors, Suns, Trailblazers, Rockets, Thunder, Hawks, and Nuggets, all winners in NBA action last night. Tonight, Amazon Prime, Patriots, and Jets. All right, that forecast for Northwest Pennsylvania. Well, we are looking at mostly cloudy conditions, a decrease in clouds throughout the day today with temperatures in the mid-40s. And then tonight, we are looking at a few clouds with lows in the upper 20s, and Friday, cloudy with temperatures in the upper 40s. That is a look forecast. Have a great Thursday. Friday edition of the Morning Drill kicks off tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Third hour continues online. Great local programming continues on the Armstrong Neighborhood channel.
U.S. President Donald Trump signed a funding package to reopen the federal government on Wednesday, ending the longest shutdown in U.S. history.
The federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America.
The motion is adopted.
The deal cleared Congress earlier in the day after the House of Representatives passed it with a vote of 222 to 209. That was despite strong opposition from House Democrats, who are angry that a long standoff launched by their Senate colleagues failed to secure a deal to extend federal health insurance subsidies. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries spoke prior to the vote.
House Democrats will continue to fight to address the health care crisis that Republicans have created. And House Democrats will continue to fight to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for tens of millions of Americans. This fight is not over. We're just getting started.
While the deal sets up a December vote on those subsidies in the Senate, no such promise was made in the House. Speaking before the vote, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson blamed Democrats for the shutdown.
And then they admitted, many of them, and we could name them here, but I'm not going to take the time, they admitted that they were using the American people as leverage in this political game. They knew that it would cause pain, and they did it anyway. The whole exercise was pointless. It was wrong, and it was cruel.
The measure reopens the government after a 43-day shutdown. It will restart disrupted food assistance, pay hundreds of thousands of federal workers, and revive a hobbled air traffic control system. It would extend funding through January 30, leaving the federal government on a path to keep adding about $1.8 trillion a year to its $38 trillion in debt.
Interstate Pipe and Supply takes pride in providing superior customer service. That's why our dedicated employees are well trained and have the experience to offer friendly, quick, and reliable service and support. Need materials delivered to your job site? No problem. Interstate offers fast delivery from our 4 locations in Western Pennsylvania. We also serve Eastern Ohio, Northern Western Virginia, and Western New York. Service means business at Western Pennsylvania's premier pipe and supply company, Interstate Pipe and Supply.
Anyone with a kind and generous heart and a little money can be a philanthropist. You too can be a force for good in our community, and the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation is here to help you make the most of your charitable giving. We've partnered with hundreds of people like you to make our world and our community a better place. You can give through us to support scholarships or any charitable organization or purpose. Whether you're interested in establishing a permanent endowment or adding to an existing fund, we want to be a part of your plan. Contact us when you're ready to make your mark. Together, we can make your contribution go further.
The Gordon B. Garrett Funeral Home has been serving the needs of Titusville and surrounding communities since 1965. Mr. Garrett believed in tradition and commitment to excellence, standards that have been passed down from one generation to now a new generation, who will work to provide you with a beautiful, lasting tribute to your loved one. When you need them, they will be there for you. This has been their foundation for almost 60 years. The Gordon B. Garrett Funeral Home, 303 North Washington Street in Titusville. Share the fun of train travel and relive our country's oil history as you ride the OC&T through the valley that changed the world. Learn about the past while traveling on vintage cars. See a variety of wildlife with stops at Drakewell Park, Petroleum Center, and Oil Creek State Park. Arrive early and see the vast collection of train and railroad memorabilia at Perry Street Station. After the ride, enjoy a night's stay at the Caboose Motel. For seasonal specials or for more information, visit octrr.org or call 814-676-1733. For over 30 years, J. Gill Plumbing and Heating has taken pride in being the premier heating and air conditioning service provider in the area. Our highly skilled and certified technicians will work closely with you to address your heating and air conditioning repair, installation, or maintenance needs. And with the J. Gill Service membership, you can take advantage of additional benefits like filter replacements and priority service scheduling. Plus, members get 10% off future projects. Call today to get a free estimate or ask about financing options. Call J. Gill Plumbing and Heating today or visit them online at jgillplumbingheating.com. Marsh Home Center Furniture, Appliances, and Bedding is located at 305 East Spring Street in Titusville. Marsh Home Center welcomes you in to explore their growing inventory of name brand furniture, appliances, and bedding. Need something not currently in stock? No problem. Order from Marsh's online catalog and have it delivered right to your door. Visit Marsh's to see their entire showroom. Ask questions, see what items are on sale, or just stop in and say hi. Marsh Home Center Furniture, Appliances, and Bedding, behind Giant Eagle in Titusville.
211 is a simple telephone number to remember when you don't know where to go for help. Dial 211 when needing to find health and human services for everyday needs and in crisis situations. It's free and confidential, and you'll have access to thousands of programs and services for emergency and non-emergency situations. Visit pa211nw.org to learn more, and remember, help is available by calling 211.
Are you tired of juggling multiple pill bottles? Titusville Express Pharmacy has your solution, now offering compliance packaging. Your medication sorted and sealed by dose, making it easier than ever to stay on track. In a hurry? Take advantage of our convenient drive-through service. We also offer free local delivery for those that qualify. Titusville Express Pharmacy, where convenience meets care. Visit us today at 401 West Spring Street in Titusville. Simplify your medication routine with Titusville Express Pharmacy.
Wall Street's main indexes ended mixed on Wednesday, with the Dow gaining more than 0.2% to notch another record high close, the S&P 500 ending roughly flat, and the Nasdaq slipping 0.25%. Investors focused on a likely end to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, with the House of Representatives poised to vote on a stopgap funding package. If passed, President Donald Trump is expected to sign the bill into law. That propped up Dow stalwarts such as Goldman Sachs and United Health Group, with each gaining 3.5%. But the Nasdaq slid again as some tech-related heavyweights lost ground. Tesla and Amazon fell about 2%, Palantir lost about 3.5%, and Oracle declined nearly 4%. Kevin Nicholson is an investment expert at Riverfront Investment Group.
Well, the NASDAQ has been volatile over the last couple of weeks just because you have so many companies that are chasing the AI train, and some are being successful at it and others aren't. And, you know, I'm really concerned about the level of spending that is going towards AI for each individual company. And for some companies, it makes sense, and for others, it doesn't. And so right now, I think the market is trying to pick the winners and losers thus far as it pertains to AI.
Among Wednesday's winners, AMD rallied 9% after the chip designer unveiled a $100 billion data center revenue target. And Cisco Systems, up 3% at the close, soared higher in extended trading after the company raised its forecast for full-year profit and revenue, banking on multi-billion-dollar data center expansions.
Joining us this morning is local author Nancy Williams. Good morning, Nancy. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you this morning. Let's learn a little bit about yourself before we talk about the new book.
Sure, you bet.
All right. Where'd you grow up?
I'm a resident of Meadville, Pennsylvania. Lived there most of my life. Went to Allegheny College and spent about 5 years out in Colorado, and then came back, and I've been here ever since.
What did you enjoy doing as a kid?
Oh, it was very outdoorsy. I grew up on a farm. My parents had kind of a little subsistence farm. We had cows and horses and stuff like that. Yeah, so it was a really great environment to grow up in.
Yeah, a lot of hard work as a kid then.
Yes.
Any hobbies, or was it pretty much just working on the farm?
Again, you know, we did a lot of fishing and just did a lot of good stuff like that. I've been a writer for most of my life. I started out even in high school. Penned my first short story when I was about 17 years old. So that was a main thing for me. Yeah.
What did you enjoy reading while you were growing up?
A lot of Stephen King, probably at too early of an age. Yeah, a lot of his books, and really kind of cut my teeth on him. My sister was a big reader of his, and so she would pass those down to me. And like I said, probably given the nature of this stuff, probably a little bit too early for me to be reading stuff like that. But
favorite Stephen King novel?
Oh, I'm actually revisiting Salem's Lot right now.
Are you?
Because the next book that I'm going to write is probably a little more towards the thriller or horror bent. So I'm looking at his technique and stuff like that.
Well, as you were approaching graduation time at high school, what were you looking to do in your life? Was it to be a writer? Or
no, actually it wasn't. I was looking towards maybe, again, something a little more outdoorsy. I was interested in like the Forest Service, and actually after I graduated from college, even though I was an English major, I ended up volunteering for the Forest Service out in Colorado and did that for probably 3 years. I was a firefighter.
Wow.
Did lots of really great, enriching experiences. It's kind of scary in a lot of ways, as you can imagine, but yeah, so I had not really any aspirations to be a professional writer at that time.
So how old were you? Where were you when you thought, I'm going to write something? And I'm going to, and not just a little something, but put serious thought into, I want to be a writer.
I can actually remember that exact moment. I was lying on the couch at home in the farm where I grew up, and there was this crummy Western on television. It was kind of a B Western. And I remember thinking
and those
myself,
are good ones.
Yeah, right, always. And I remember thinking, like, boy, I think I can do better than that. And so that's how the first idea for my first novel started to gel. And just over the next couple of years, just literally sat on the couch and wrote it longhand, because we didn't, I hate to say it, we didn't have computers back in those days, but so just sat on the couch and started writing it out, and then it ended up actually being my senior comp for Allegheny.
Wow. So it took you several years to write that then?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, was doing it off and on. Again, writing something longhand is
long.
Tedious and arduous. Yeah, it's long, as you can imagine, and so just did it when I could, and literally the rewrites that I went through, again, longhand, and then finally, probably I think my junior year in college, we started to get a little more advanced and had some computers and stuff like that, and was able to actually tap it out then.
Wow. Yeah. So did you finish that project and then think, wow, I've accomplished that. That was great. I want to do it again.
Yes, definitely. I mean, after I wrote it for my senior comp, I did that, and it was a success, pretty nice. But then I just put it away because I just got caught up in, again, moving out to Colorado, and maybe thought I wanted to pursue something a little more outdoor. So put it on a shelf for years, literally like 10 years.
Wow.
And in the meantime, I started writing another novel, just a little, again, sort of a historical fiction bent. But again, just life was taking a different direction at that point, and just really didn't see myself as doing that professionally, or just didn't really know how to go about it. Again, it was back in the days when the internet was not around, and so doing that was a lot more difficult than it is today.
And here we are with, this is your third book?
This is actually my fourth.
Your fourth book?
Fourth book, yeah.
Wow. All right. Pull it up just a little bit. There you go. There it is. Let's talk about the book. And I'll let you just kind of dive right into it. And then, because I have some other questions I want to ask, but first I want to learn about this particular book, and then we can get into some of those other questions.
Sure. Well, this is the first book that I've written that's a contemporary novel. The other three that I wrote were, again, historical fiction. They were mostly a trilogy. This one is a big departure from what I've written before. It's kind of a suspense thriller, a little techno, if you will. It's centers around infidelity and the ramifications of infidelity. The main character is a guy who's kind of finds himself in a cliche of a marriage, and it's kind of cookie cutter, and he decides that he wants to have an affair to spice things up. He loves his wife, but he doesn't want to get a divorce, but he just wants a way to kind of, as he puts it, let off some steam, and ends up getting involved in this company that facilitates affairs in the name of saving marriages, which, of course, that's really never pans out. Yeah. And he finds himself involved with this company that's really it's a high-tech surveillance company, and it just really kind of goes south from there.
Where do you pull your influence from? I mean, is it something that over time you just start thinking about certain characters, or do you see something you think, oh, that would make an interesting character? Or, I mean, do you take people from real life and kind of mold them into characters in your book?
First rule of writing is you never say that.
Never say that, right?
They're all fictitious. Nobody. Nobody's ever taken from real life.
But you have to be influenced by life.
A little, life, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of this book comes from knowing a lot of people who certainly had affairs and been unfaithful, and then people that I don't think are necessarily bad people, but they just find themselves in certain situations, and maybe they, by their friends' estimations, they become bad people because they've done one bad thing. And I think that's what this book is about, that it's not necessarily, people aren't just the sum of their parts. I mean, they can still be, you can still be a good person and do a bad thing, or something that's not necessarily, an ideal, find themselves in not an ideal situation.
The magic of reading is interpretation. Everybody has a different interpretation of what they've read.
Yes.
So do you have people who read the book and say, hey, maybe call you up and say, was this character about me? Or
I've had a little bit of that. People want to know if a certain person is based on a certain somebody.
Whether they are or whether they see that.
Right, exactly, yeah. I mean, how much is this character based on, or how much of me is in a lot of the characters actually is a lot of what people want to know. And I think as a writer, you can find yourself a little bit in all of your characters. There's a little bit of you in everybody that you write about.
But isn't it nice, too, that you can write these characters and have them have certain qualities that maybe you don't possess?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, especially with, not so much with this book, but with the trilogy that I wrote, the first 3 books, the main character is a very strong female character, and that's definitely, you can play God a little bit and put yourself in a situation where you always, the main character can, you have some pretty difficult situations, but can handle things in a way that maybe you would really like to see yourself handling, or, be the hero, or, a very strong person, that kind of thing.
So when did you start drafting the initial concept of this book?
This was about 2 years ago that I started doing this, and I did it in a very different way. The books that I've written before, I had them pretty well planned out in my head, but this one I just decided to take it a very different way and do more of a stream of consciousness thing. So I took my laptop to work every day, and just on lunch hour just banged out as many pages as I could. Really didn't plan anything in advance, never did an outline or anything like that. A lot of people do that, but it just really came out, which is kind of a nice thing if you're writing a suspense novel, because if you don't know how it ends, then your reader's not going to know how it ends either.
So how important was it for you to get that ending right?
With this one, it was because it's a kind of a suspense thriller type thing. I mean, there's a lot of twists and turns in it. That was actually a lot more difficult than I've ever had, more difficult process than I've ever had before, just because I really didn't know how it was going to turn out. Really, right up until the very last scene, I had no idea what was going to happen. So that was a tricky process. In fact, I had to use my husband as a good sounding board, because to really hash it out, and you don't want to have it, as an author, you really want to tie up all your loose ends and things like that. And so it's very good and very helpful to have a sounding board to bounce stuff off of and be like, no, wait a minute, that character couldn't have done that because he wasn't there, or something like that.
Is it easier to end the story or to start the story?
Oh boy, it just kind of depends on the book. I've had both ways happen. Sometimes I can always tell how a story is going to go if the first page comes easily to me. There's been a couple books where I have struggled with the first page and just agonized over it for months, and it just never. But to me, I think if I can nail that first page, then the rest of the book seems to come pretty easily.
I'd have to imagine that it's a pretty rewarding experience to write a book, to go through that entire process. You said it's been years, but to start it, develop it, end it, send it off, and when you get it in the mail, we talked a little bit about this. When you get that final product in the book, how nervous are you to open it up and to make sure there's no mistakes? This is it. It's going out like this.
Right. Yeah, that is a huge process. I mean, there's the editing process, of course, is a very long process. So by the time I send a book out, I've already looked at it a million times. I'm sick of it already. I don't want to even look at the characters anymore. And then an editor gets a hold of it, and then it's kind of starting that whole process all over again. And so there's a lot of back and forth between an editor and myself. At least this last editor that I worked with, I would say probably half a dozen times anyway. My very first editor, I think we looked at that book 20, 30 times, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right down to the very last typo and just content and pacing, or is one chapter too long, is this too short? I mean, just the look of the book and that kind of thing. I think the most nerve-wracking thing for me is actually when a graphic artist gets a hold of the cover, and so there's their interpretation of what the book is actually going to look like and what I think the cover should look like. There's definitely some input. You have that, and I have most of the time you have final cut over what the cover is going to look like, but there is a huge, obviously, room for interpretation there. So that, to me, is the most nerve-wracking part.
When you got this book back, were you happy?
I was, yeah. They asked me, what if I had any ideas of what I wanted it to look like, and for this particular story, there's a business card for the company played a kind of a large part in the in the whole plot of the thing, and so I thought, well, that should be kind of an integral part of the cover. So that bit of advice I got there, and then with this kind of a flamey, steamy look to it, it kind of is, I think, representative of the way of the storyline. So I was pleased with it.
When you get the book back and you're having that dialogue with the editor or with the graphic design folks, does it feel like they're when they make suggestions, does it feel like, oh, they're touching my baby, this is mine? Or do you take that input and say, okay, I can kind of see that? Do you look forward to getting that input from outsiders?
I do, yeah. I mean, there's definitely, it is a little nerve-wracking. I mean, you're hopeful that you didn't, I mean, I'm hopeful that I didn't botch it so to the point where it needs like a huge rewrite.
Right.
But usually if you've gotten to a point with it where a publisher is going to buy it, those issues are gone. So it's maybe
sometimes creative people, this is my thing, I don't touch it.
Right. With me, I actually do really welcome the editing process. I mean, I just want to make the best product that I possibly can have. There's been very few times where I've like really dug my heels in and said, no, that's not gonna fly. But it's definitely a give and take, and you just have to have thick skin. If any, that's the main part about being a writer. If you've got to be able to take criticism. If you can't, you're just not gonna make it.
What's your favorite aspect about writing? Is it coming up with the ideas? Is it the writing process? Is it getting that final product and actually being able to show it off?
Actually, I think later in the game, once I've got the very first draft settled down, and then I like to just really start to go back over it and tidy it up. Going back to Stephen King, he has a great book that's called On Writing, where it's kind of his perspective on his whole career and that kind of thing. I forget who he was quoting, but it's a great way to look at the rewriting process, where when you first write a story, you're telling yourself the story. The rewrite, then you're finding out what's not the story. And that's I really love that process, just sort of weeding through things and pulling out all the extraneous dialogue and just scenes, because I can definitely tell where I am telling myself the story and just getting it down on paper. That's where I think a lot of writers will do outlines and things like that, and that's just not the way I do it. But just really kind of combing through and just really pulling out what the essence of the story is a really exciting process.
It's funny, in my line of work, sometimes you have to edit out the best footage or that best clip or that whatever. Do you find that when going back to help with pacing or to help to push the story along, you have to remove maybe something that was maybe your favorite part of the conversation or of the book? Yeah,
and that is hard. That's where that my baby stuff kind of comes in. You have a really favorite scene or just a little clip of dialogue, and then you just realize that it's just really not serving the story at all, or somebody else says like, this isn't so great, and I have found a few instances where I've really been clinging to those little moments, and then you realize that if you look at it from a couple people's different perspectives, that okay, this probably does need to go. Or another way I've looked at it, if there's a problematic scene that I've just reworked maybe 3 or 4 times, then you realize that even though it may feel really good in a lot of ways, if it's got to be reworked that much, it's just got to go.
And I'm sure you probably spend a lot of time thinking about those things that you plan on cutting, because you're looking, does this affect the dialogue down the road or a situation down the road, or something I'm trying to build up to?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's been pages that have hit the cutting floor because of that. It's like, that is not going to work. Or maybe I'll do a little bit of research, later on and find out something that maybe a new angle to the story that wasn't there before. But there's a scene in page 10 that's not going to make any sense anymore, so it's just going to have to go.
So talk about the name of the book and how and I'm sure that's going to be a difficult process, right? Coming up with the title of the book. Well,
it's interesting. I mean, actually with this book, that was the catalyst for the whole book itself. I think, again, it was one of those moments where I was at the gym and I was on a treadmill or something, and this phrase just kind of floated into my head. It was the title, right? The phrase, rabid philanderer, or like the rabid philanderer, and just kept kind of rolling that around. And I just thought, well, that sounds like a pretty cool title for a book. And then that sort of spawned the story. So that's probably for me the easiest part of it. The title doesn't seem to. I mean, the one book that I wrote, the second novel that I wrote was called, I ended up calling it Grace. And I still kind of struggle with that title a little bit because it's kind of a ubiquitous word. It's, we see it a lot in book titles, and so it's not very catchy, but I ended up just sticking with it because I thought it best served the storyline. But
and I'm sure for you it's difficult because you're working out, you're trying to come up with the title, and you've got Mike Fiorillo next to you, just constantly wanting to talk. Yeah, just talk. And it's like, Mike, I'm in the zone.
Yes,
I'm working.
He's usually behind me, so I can't even see him. It's like the little devil on your shoulder.
That's right. Well, you said you were working on this at work during your lunch hour.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there were days where that hour just would never end because you were just trying to get some ideas out. But I'm sure there was times when you know that hour went by and you still wanted to type more. How do you deal with that when the ideas are flowing, but your time is limited to get them down?
You just gotta stop and literally put a mental bookmark there, and usually when I'm in a groove like that or in a zone, then I know that I can remember because it's so strong. If I think that it's maybe a possibility of an idea or something, then I will maybe make a little note or just jot a little thing down so that it'll jog my memory. But you just have to stop and go on with life. I was the ideal situation is for writing to be your only job, though. I was at a period where I was not working for a while and I could write for 8 hours a day and cranked out 15-20 pages a day, which is fantastic. So it's very different from 1 or 2 pages a day, but the main thing is to treat it like a job, or just keep it be in the habit of it, so that the characters stay alive and the story stays alive in your head, and so you can remember what you were doing. If you put it down for a week or 2 weeks, then it gets hard to get back into it.
Do you have a notepad beside the bed so when you wake up in the middle of the night you jot down the ideas?
Every now and then I do jot some things down, but usually they stick. Yeah, I've not had too much trouble with that.
Talk about publishing today. As a local author, are you happy with the way technology has helped authors or writers out by getting their stories published, or is it more difficult because there are more people trying to get that exposure? That's
a great question. Yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword for sure. I've hardly met anybody that doesn't think that they have a book in them or thinks that they can write a book, and it's a lot harder than you think it is. But I know that way back when in the 70s and even in the 80s, it was literally people would take books to New York City and throw them over the transom, the little window at the top of the door, and it just, you wait for a phone call. There was no email, there was no anything like that. So the amount of people who were actually writing novels was way, way less. And then, of course, we have these technological advances, which are great, but then it's just more and more publicized about the huge success that a very small percentage of authors do have, and like the J.K. Rowlings and all those guys, and so it just now I think the market really is glutted, and with a lot of I'm certainly one of them in a way. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who go with small presses, or just the self-publishing industry is huge now, and so I think it's a double-edged sword.
What's next for you?
Well, after this one, I've actually started another novel. It's going to be more of a suspense thriller, sort of based on, there's an urban legend around Meadville about the pig people of Round Top. I don't know if you're familiar with that yet, but I think I'm going to incorporate that into my next book.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So again, you're pulling from those experiences.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. So are you excited about, do you get excited, or is it kind of like, okay, I know I'd like to do a new book, but I got to build myself up to that point?
Once you break the seal, get the first couple pages, like again with that, if that first page goes really well, which fortunately with this one it just popped out. The first couple pages were very nice, very easy to do. But yeah, once I get into it, then it just starts to roll. But again, it's that habit. If I let it go for a week or two, then it just starts to. That's when it feels like work, when I'm actually not doing it. So.
Now, do you try to finish one before you start the next, or are you having notes for the other book while you're finishing one?
I try and do one at a time. I think the most enviable position for me is to actually be publicizing one novel, writing the first draft, or working with an editor on another one, and then actually doing a first draft of another one. So, but that's still not, just like doing the first draft of 2 or 3 things at a time. I think that would be a dangerous thing to do.
All right, Nancy, tell us where folks can find the book.
You can actually find this at the publisher's website, sunburypress.com. You can get it directly from them. You can also get it from Amazon.com, or from me if you would like a signed copy. I have a website, www.nlwbooks.com.
Very nice.
I can get you one in the mail.
Excellent. Nancy, it was a real pleasure meeting you this morning.
Real pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for having me.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, I have a lot of respect for for folks like yourself who can sit there and master that writing and accomplish it and send it off, get it published, and there it is. It's a beautiful looking book.
Thank you.
So wishing you all the best. And despite Mike Fiorillo being a mutual friend, you have a lot of talent, because I know sometimes he surrounds himself with some shady people, but you're not one of them.
Thank you.
All right, Nancy, good luck with everything, and please come back and keep us updated on the book and your next project.
I would love that. Thank you very much.
The morning drill.
U.S. President Donald Trump signed a funding package to reopen the federal government on Wednesday, ending the longest shutdown in U.S. history.
The federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America affordable again for all Americans again.
The bill is passed. The motion is adopted.
The deal cleared Congress earlier in the day after the House of Representatives passed it with a vote of 222 to 209. That was despite strong opposition from House Democrats, who are angry that a long standoff launched by their Senate colleagues failed to secure a deal to extend federal health insurance subsidies. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries spoke prior to the vote.
House Democrats will continue to fight to address the health care crisis that Republicans have created. And House Democrats will continue to fight to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for tens of millions of Americans. This fight is not over. We're just getting started.
While the deal sets up a December vote on those subsidies in the Senate, no such promise was made in the House. Speaking before the vote, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson blamed Democrats for the shutdown.
And then they admitted, many of them, and we could name them here, but I'm not going to take the time, they admitted that they were using the American people as leverage in this political game. They knew that it would cause pain, and they did it anyway. The whole exercise was pointless. It was wrong, and it was cruel.
The measure reopens the government after a 43-day shutdown. It will restart disrupted food assistance, pay hundreds of thousands of federal workers, and revive a hobbled air traffic control system. It would extend funding through January 30, leaving the federal government on a path to keep adding about $1.8 trillion a year to its $38 trillion in debt.
New Directions Community Credit Union is now open in Titusville. They may be new to our community, but they've been serving our region since 1974, providing their members with affordable products and services. Membership is open to anyone who lives, works, worships, volunteers, attends school, regularly conducts business, or who owns a business in Venango, Forest, Warren, or Crawford counties. Visit their new location at 206 South Martin Street in Titusville to learn more about becoming a member. Best of luck to all the students and athletes this fall from New Directions Community Credit Union.
Looking for expert orthopedic care? Dr. Charlie Gates, a trusted name at Titusville Area Hospital, can help you regain mobility and a better quality of life. With years of experience and a passion for personalized care, Dr. Gates specializes in treating a wide range of orthopedic conditions. Whether it's joint pain, sports injuries, or orthopedic surgery, trust Dr. Charlie Gates at Titusville Area Hospital for your orthopedic care. Call 814-827-9770 today to schedule your appointment.
Vanderhoof Heating and Air Conditioning provides residential and light commercial air conditioning services throughout the area. They understand the importance of your cooling system working properly. That is why you can trust in Vanderhoof to do the job right. Whether it's a non-working air conditioner, yearly maintenance, or a new install, you can be assured that we will solve your problem quickly and efficiently. Your home's air conditioning system is far more than just temperature. It's a complete comfort system that combines temperature, humidity, air quality, and above all, safety. Vanderhoof Heating and Air Conditioning in Titusville. Titusville Market Square is home to over 100 unique vendors featuring antiques, collectibles, candles, coins, baked goods, dairy products, food items, comic books, toys, and so much more. You'll discover something new every time you walk through the door. Did we mention the selection of baked goods, breads, Clark's Donuts, and Amish pies? Titusville Market Square has you covered. Stop in to explore today. Titusville Market Square in downtown Titusville.
Our new home.
Somebody pinch me.
Somebody say pinch?
Pinch,
Ooh,
pinch.
pinch time.
We mean we just bought this.
Yeah, we just bought a new house. Why are there crabs?
Don't call for pinches. Call for protection.
Hit it.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Your State Farm agent is ready to help you choose the right coverage for your new house and your car.
All right, which way to the sea? We're in Ohio.
So is that close or
No.
You got a pool?
No.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
I'm Ronnie Long.
And I'm Lisa Mellon.
The name Armstrong reflects more than just a company. It's a promise.
While others focus on the short term, we're building for a future that's limitless.
From the dawn of cable television to the rise of the digital age, we've delivered cutting-edge technology like our advanced fiber network that redefines what's possible.
Guided by our core values, we have proudly served and strengthened communities like yours for generations.
Fat Chad's is Titusville's premier dining destination. Come hungry and enjoy these menu favorites: T-bone steak, homemade meatloaf dinner, or soft shell crab tacos. Dive into fresh pasta entrees like shrimp and scallop pasta, or our signature Asiago chicken. And don't miss our famous burgers and fish sandwiches, all served with fresh cut fries. Fridays mean prime rib specials. Enjoy Wild Game Saturdays. And on Sundays, it's our all-you-can-eat wing buffet. For good food and good times, it's Fat Chad's Brewing in Titusville.
211 is an easy-to-remember telephone number for finding health and human services for everyday needs and in crisis situations. Every day, highly trained 211 call specialists provide referrals to basic human needs resources like food banks and shelters, physical and mental health, employment support, support for youth and child care programs, and support for adults and persons with disabilities. To learn more, dial 211 or visit pa211nw.org.
Wall Street's main indexes ended mixed on Wednesday, with the Dow gaining more than 0.2% to notch another record high close, the S&P 500 ending roughly flat, and the Nasdaq slipping 0.25%. Investors focused on a likely end to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, with the House of Representatives poised to vote on a stopgap funding package. If passed, President Donald Trump is expected to sign the bill into law. That propped up Dow stalwarts such as Goldman Sachs and United Health Group, with each gaining 3.5%. But the Nasdaq slid again as some tech-related heavyweights lost ground. Tesla and Amazon fell about 2%, Palantir lost about 3.5%, and Oracle declined nearly 4%. Kevin Nicholson is an investment expert at Riverfront Investment Group.
Well, the NASDAQ has been volatile over the last couple of weeks just because you have so many companies that are chasing the AI train, and some are being successful at it and others aren't. And, you know, the market is really concerned about the level of spending that is going towards AI for each individual company. And for some companies, it makes sense, and for others, it doesn't. And so right now, I think the market is trying to pick the winners and losers thus far as it pertains to AI.
Among Wednesday's winners, AMD rallied 9% after the chip designer unveiled a $100 billion data center revenue target. And Cisco Systems, up 3% at the close, soared higher in extended trading after the company raised its forecast for full-year profit and revenue, banking on multi-billion-dollar data center expansions.
Well, mostly cloudy skies today, partly cloudy this afternoon with temperatures in the mid-40s. Some clouds tonight with lows in the upper 20s. We wrap up the work and school week Friday with mostly cloudy skies and a high of 50. Saturday, some afternoon rain expected with temperatures nearing 60 degrees. Sunday, morning rain showers, upper 30s. And Monday, mostly cloudy with temperatures in the upper 30s. That is a look at your weather forecast at 8:42. This is the Morning Drill. You're watching it on Stream TV and on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. Joining us this morning is the host of Recovery Is on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. It's Angela Morton. And Angela, I know you're more than just a host of a great program on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. There's a lot you're involved with, and we welcome you to the program here again this morning. Good to see you.
Thanks, Luke. Thank you, as always.
A lot to kind of catch up on this. I feel like when you came in, you're just updating me on things that you've been working on. I feel like this is a good time to kind of catch up on things and figure out what you've been working on, what's coming up. Next month, we'll wait and kind of look back at 2025 and what's ahead in 26. But, yeah, kind of get us started here with there's a lot happening in our region.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So the Recovery Is NWPA Grant Consortium has multiple entities from hospitals to Primary Health Network here, Family Service Children's Aid Society, Crawford Drug and Alcohol, lots of agencies working together to build out kind of just some energy, conversation, activities, events for people who may be navigating or are high risk for substance use. So the grant projects with Recovery Is NWPA work together to bring the things that I was telling you about. So sometimes it's not, quote, just about drugs or alcohol or substance use in general, but things like housing and food security or domestic or intimate partner violence. And we try to do events that highlight all of those things and highlight the things that our consortium partners are doing in the community, the services that they have available to people.
Would you say the grant has helped kind of open up some communication lines and kind of bring people together, or has that always kind of been there with the different organizations working together?
I would say, and I think these are open conversations with the consortium partners, that sometimes we are all doing the things we're doing and doing them well, and we get into our own, kind of wheelhouse, our own silo, if you like that term, and everybody's doing their own thing, and sometimes we don't even know all the things that another agency does. So, for instance, we have next week we have a session at recoveryiscommunity.org. Our website under training, we have one on giving every child a healthy start, and it's the director of pre-K counts for Crawford County. And when I talked to her about what she might like to speak about, I had no idea. I've been working in this field for decades. I had no idea all the things that pre-K counts offers to families. It's not just about getting kids, that healthy start educationally, that they are a connection to families who might be navigating substance use or mental health or things around poverty like food and transportation, childcare, and they are sort of like that point of contact for young children and families. So that's just one example of maybe somebody thinks that Stepping Stones is only a rehab, and it's not. They also do outpatient drug and alcohol treatment and inpatient and detox and those things. But sometimes the networking with each other has been really fruitful in helping us all know what we're doing for the community and what we have to offer. So I think it has helped with the communication.
Yeah, that's great. And then that way maybe you've got organizations that say we don't want to duplicate, another service that might be offered by somebody else, or maybe, hey, we're doing this and we could partner with you because it is a compatible thing. And I think that excites you when you see that partnership come into play.
We call it the synergy of getting it all to work together, because I always make it clear that I'm coming in representing the whole consortium. Now, technically, I do work for Hammett Health Foundation and UPMC Western Behavioral Health at Safe Harbor in Erie. I'm almost never there because I'm out in the community and I work mostly remotely. But I always make it clear we're not here to do or overtake or replicate or duplicate anything that anyone else is doing. We're here to enhance that network and to help break down barriers and identify gaps. And sometimes that's uncomfortable to find out, hey, we didn't even know this piece was missing, or we didn't know that the community didn't know that we were right here in Corey, Pennsylvania, or in Oil City, Pennsylvania. That we're breaking down some of those barriers, helping identify gaps, and then enhancing people's access to services, mental health, drug and alcohol, suicide prevention, domestic violence, homelessness.
We're coming in, and I know it seems like every year we talk about this, but we're coming into the winter months, the holiday season. There's a lot that starts piling up. You mentioned domestic violence. Last month was Domestic Violence Awareness Month. What's this? Obviously, this applies year-round, right? The spotlight's right now just because we're coming off of Domestic Violence Awareness Month and into the holidays. But this is something that you should be thinking about throughout the year. Kind of give us your take of, what does that mean when you look at that in October and as we get into these months? We were out last night and it was like, boy, I think it was like 5 o'clock. And it's like, boy, it's dark. It's kind of, some people might say it's really depressing, but it's, when you see Christmas lights, I think that's why you're seeing all this stuff pop up earlier, because it adds a little bit of color to the darkness of the night. So walk us through what this time of year means for you and your partners.
Well, you just said a couple of things that are important. Like, it's true, it can be depressing. People do have legitimate, seasonal affective disorder. It can get depressed when the days are, it's darker and the days feel shorter, and people who are already navigating mental health concerns. So I appreciate your awareness of it, but that is legitimate. With the holidays coming, I think you and I had just said, we probably in the years we've now been talking once a month, we always say the holidays are supposed to be a really joyful and happy and blissful time. And maybe we all have that childlike wonder of remembering the excitement of the holidays. And it doesn't always feel that way in adult life, and with the stress and the trauma and the things that so many people go through. Social media compounds that because people aren't putting their tough times mostly on social media. It's the beautiful picture of your table you just set with all the nice, holiday dishes and all of the family and friends you have around. And that's not the norm. A lot of people are sitting at home alone with a spouse or a kid, or sometimes just alone and enjoying a day to themselves, or feeling sad that the rest of the world is out supposedly having fun and enjoying the camaraderie of the holidays. So anybody who already has some mental health concerns or is navigating substance use recovery or is using substances might be at higher risk because of the stress of the holidays. So I think each year we talk about how do you navigate those family times and the stress of being around family, or if you're in early recovery and you have to decide whether to be with family, if they happen to be people that activate a lot of those feelings of wanting to use, or there's family trauma or something. So That, and as you mentioned, the domestic violence, we're partnering with places like Safe Journey in Union City, who created Purple One, an evidence-based training program that they did with Penn State University to recognize, respond, and refer when someone identifies that they are at risk or are in a domestic violence or an intimate partner violence situation. Thank you for pulling that up. And so Lori Pallison, the director there at Safe Journey, is a champion for helping people access those services and to not feel alone. She's agreed to do a virtual version of the Purple One training that is usually 4 hours. I think there's actually one happening today, this morning. It's like from 8 to noon. And the next one might not be until February, but we're going to do one virtually with Lori. And there'll be like a series of 3 hour-and-a-half sessions via Teams. So it'll be convenient for people during the winter to come and have that training.
Yeah, November 13th, February 12th, April 9th, June 11th.
February 12th. Okay, thank you for finding that. And that will be on our website calendar at some point as well. She had given me permission to share some of that. So, yeah, there are plenty of opportunities. It looks like quarterly or even a little bit more that she's doing that training to help people recognize, respond, and refer. And you had mentioned domestic violence, which is an important topic coming out of, as you said, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. But there's not enough talk about the substance use coercion that happens in some intimate partner violence situations. So.
Yeah, no, keep going.
So, unfortunately, sometimes in the stress of domestic violence, there might be substance use. It's not, causation, but there might be some correlation with the stress of domestic violence and substance use, maybe drinking or using illicit drugs, and sometimes then being coerced into using something you didn't want to use or using more than you intended to use. And then at some point, I have a friend that used to tell me about how her ex used to inject her with heroin, and she eventually became dependent. She was addicted to heroin.
Wow.
Because they were using together, but he started to inject. She was then addicted. So she is in recovery from not just the substance use, but also the coercion and the mental torment of that. So violence doesn't always mean hitting and pushing. It can be control in other ways, financial control, fear, or withholding. I had somebody that I worked with that when she was in withdrawal, once she became dependent and then was in withdrawal, that she would be punished and everybody else would be using and they wouldn't let her use, and she'd be sitting there in withdrawal and a lot of pain and sickness and they wouldn't let her use.
Verbal abuse can be, you think, well, at least somebody's not hitting. No. Verbal can be horrible, especially year after year, just compiling all of that. I think if anybody's struggling with anything, they should be reaching out and talk real quick. Well, actually, let's do this real quick. You're watching The Morning Drill on Stream TV and on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. Angela Morton with us here this morning. I think people who reach out to try to help say, well, just leave. It's not that easy, is it? It's not that simple.
No, and what we know now, back in the day, we used to say, yes, let's try to get a person out of a situation, but most fatalities around domestic violence happen right after a person leaves. So it can actually be dangerous. You need to have a plan, need to have resources and supports and a safety plan intact. Sometimes that involves like a restraining order or protection from abuse. So yeah, it's not as simple as saying, why don't they just leave? There are a lot of people who feel oppressed in their situation, and it might only, as you said, it might be verbal, that you're never going to get out of the situation. You're never going to find anyone. Nobody else is going to love you. Nobody's going to care about you. Nobody will tolerate your crap. Just that constant message that you said, it just gets in your head and becomes part of who you believe you are. And that kind of control is also really dangerous because even when the resources are available, it makes it challenging to reach out.
I think, I would assume a lot of times it's coming from a place where the person's caring, where they're saying, just get out of there. But almost equates to somebody just saying, well, just quit. Don't drink. Don't, stop using drugs. Like, to them, it sounds like it's a simple thing, but the reality is it's not. It's much harder than that. There's more to it than just that.
Any pattern that we're in, whether it's substance use or our eating habits, our exercise. Every time I do your 4 small flights of stairs when I come in the morning, I know I'm a person who exercises, but apparently I still get winded for stairs early in the morning.
Or when I hit a roundabout. I just keep going around and around trying to figure out how to get out of it.
Oh, stop. Some maybe. Yeah, I mean, we say we're going to exercise more. We say that we're going to try not to eat sugar or as many carbs, or we're going to not eat after 7 p.m., or we're going to drink less, or we're going to not take that extra dose of our prescription, knowing that it was prescribed only every 6 hours and we're taking it at 4. We can make a lot of decisions based on what we need at the time.
And again, this time of year, all that stuff's being shoved in your face. And I don't mean that in a bad way or a mean way. Have a cookie, have
it's
this.
It's in front of you.
It is. It's
the pies
right
and the foods and
don't start.
It sounds good, right?
Does.
Some pumpkin pie.
Oh my gosh,
a
I'm
dollop
ready.
of whipped cream on top.
I'm ready. But again, in the same, here, have a glass of wine, have a beer, have this. I mean, it's constantly there.
And the guilt that people may sometimes, I mean, I even hear it out socially when somebody will just socially, everybody's having a drink. Why don't you have a drink? Don't you want a drink? And if I say, I'm good, or no thanks, or I already had one, there's still this societal camaraderie of do what everybody else in the room is doing. Here, have another slice of pizza, have another drink, take one of these pills. And we're asking youth to have the judgment and the wherewithal to make life-changing decisions every day. They're walking home from school, or they're in school, or they're exposed to life and media and social media and all these things that we're asking our youth. Well, we're talking about, hey, as adults, how do we cope? And we need to remember that kids, I mean, young kids, we're not talking just 15, 16. We're talking, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds that are exposed to cigarettes or vaping or a pill or a joint. And they have to make that decision that even adults have a hard time saying, no, thanks, I've had enough.
You also have a lot of kids who are being raised by grandparents because their parents are struggling with life. And how are they handling this? And what are they doing? And there's a lot of confusion there. We don't know. There's a generation gap there. And, yeah, the struggles are – that's why it was fascinating when you were talking about, the pre-K stuff and young kids. I mean, it starts young where you're exposed to a lot of things. And how are you dealing with that? How are you helping these kids get into the right system and find that right path?
And it's not just opinions either. There's a science behind all of these programs. And when you have kids who are in a pre-K counts program or in some kind of early intervention versus the kids who don't, you can see they measure those outcomes. They can say intellectually, socially, mentally, all the things that we should have as adults that are helping society by helping little ones and helping families. So turning our heads and saying somebody else is going to do it, or they can figure it out, or let them do childcare, it's not childcare. It's a program that enhances access to things that make kids into better adults.
I say it every time you're here. These segments go really fast. What's coming up? What should people be aware of? You mentioned one of the things, but on your calendar, trainings, anything coming up in the next couple months?
Well, that pre-K, it actually isn't even labeled that. She just wanted to call it, and it makes sense, and I appreciate it's like giving every kid a healthy start or something like that next, I want to say 18th. Okay. So that's on the recoveryscommunity.org website. We have a calendar, and those trainings are open to the public. There's also free continuing education for doctors, nurses, social workers, pharmacists, peer workers. But next Wednesday, the 19th, we're having our first of 6 months worth of monthly pop-ups for a reentry resource fair, and that will be at The Point in Oil City from 10 to noon, I believe. That's on the calendar as well. So that will be for anybody who's reentering society after being incarcerated, so that we can help people have a successful reentry and be more likely to be able to, stay out in their community and be productive when they have their health care and transportation and food and everything intact.
If folks have questions, want more information, how do they find it?
Well, if it's substance use related or mental health, you can call 1-800-662-HELP. You can go to findtreatment.gov, or you can go to our website at recoveryiscommunity.org, or call your local county substance use program or your county human services and ask for mental health or domestic violence help or any of those things. You can call your local county office and get some guidance and help.
All right. Angela, good to see you this morning.
You too, Luke. Thanks for
all the
having me.
best.